this is the first time since 1938 they've not got out of the group stages. In 1978, of course, there was a second group stage. It's just mind-blowing.
It's not Germany, is it?
Yeah. No, it's 4 out of 5 of the last champions have gone out in the group stage. And I don't know if it's a case where you're thinking, well, we're going to do everything the same because we won it, and that obviously worked. But teams have to start realizing that you got to make some changes.
They haven't been good enough at all, have they? Mm-hmm. The warning signs were there in the first game against Mexico. They got away with it slightly against Sweden by the 94th minute winner by Toni Kroos, but they didn't play well then. And they were poor again today, really slow, laborious. The creative players, the Ozils, the Werners, the Draxlers, I know he wasn't there today, but they didn't do anything. They haven't got any firepower. It's a really worrying time for Germany, actually, looking forward to the Euros in a couple of years, looking forward to the World Cup, because these main men, the Krooses, the Ozils, they won't be there in 4 years' time. They arguably shouldn't have been there this time, the way they played. And there's not a lot of depth coming up behind them.
Well, we talk about, we've in the last 24 hours, we've talked a lot about Sampaoli not knowing his best team. This is a guy who's won the World Cup, Jogi Löw, and he certainly hasn't had a clue what his best team is in this tournament. You had Plattenhardt start, and then you had Hector. You had Hummels, okay, he was injured, but Rudiger came in, then it was Süle. You had Khedira sitting out, you had Rudy coming in, then you had Gundogan coming in, now he sat out today. You had Brandt, Brandt looked as if he was going to be the best bet and hardly played. Draxler was dropped, Ozil was dropped, then he came back in, and Thomas Müller was on the bench. I mean, this is absolutely bonkers from a German point of view.
And Leroy Sané's
on a sunbed.
And you're hoping that all your attack is going to come from Kimmich, overlapping from right back.
Let's go out to Ralf Honigstein, a man whose beard is probably bristling as we speak. I can only imagine. Ralf Honigstein has been, of course, following Germany for so long. Actually wrote a book about the reboot of German football. You might have to write part 2 after this, Ralf. But honestly, I know you weren't even at the game today against Korea. You're there in Moscow with Brazilian fans filing behind you. How do you begin to explain what happened to Germany today?
Well, the inquest will be long and hard, and of course all sorts of different things come up, lack of commitment, attitude, a possible split in the team camp, which I don't personally buy, and of course selection issues. I think Craig hit the nail on the head to a certain extent. I think Löw came into this tournament with a very specific idea what the plan A is, what the team is, and when it didn't work, he made changes, and then he changed it again for the third game. And Germany never really settled into a rhythm. They never really looked as sharp and as young and as energetic as they did a year ago with a very fresh and experimental team here. And I think his trust and his loyalty to some players was disappointed, was mistaken, misplaced. You look at Sami Khedira, the 2 games he's had, and you have to say he wasn't quite up to it, unfortunately. And I think if you have one of your main midfielders underperforming to such an extent, that has a big knock-on effect. And the lack of cohesion we saw from Germany, the lack of commitment when it came to protecting the back four, supporting the front four, all the things that happened so well, like a machine in 2014, weren't there this time. And Germany ran out of luck.
A bit for Toni Kroos in this German team. He's an absolutely wonderful player. And in all fairness, he wasn't at his best, but he's got such high standards. But every time he got on the ball, I felt something might happen.
Yeah.
When Brandt came on in both games, I thought something might happen. But when the Ozils got on the ball, even today, I mean, he wasn't the only one. There was probably half a dozen of them, but he's the big one. When I watched him 20 yards out with a chance to take a strike at goal, and he's popping it off to the side. Giving it to other people, it's quite incredible.
But the one thing you've always been able to depend on with Germany is the fury, the never say die.
Yeah, but it wasn't like that. I think it was very paramount after the first game. The fact that there was Hummels come out and started blaming his teammates. You knew instantly there was problems within the camp. You knew whether Raf's right there, the Bayern lads against the rest of the German team. But Hummels and Boateng were blaming other people. Somebody else was blaming the defenders, and that's unheard of in the German camp. You never hear whispers coming out blaming your teammates. It's not my fault, it's their fault. We needed more help, people running forwards. And it just carried on from there, didn't it? It just absolutely carried on.
To be honest with you, they didn't even really have to come out and say it. You can see it on the field. how there are lines of this team that have 20 yards between each other. There is no real connection between one and the other. Today they lose the ball, and in South Korea, if they were any better on the counterattack, they would have won this game 5-0. I mean, how many times we saw South Korea going in 3v3, 3v2 against Germany, and I know that Germany is pushing forward, but just the lack of organization and structure, and that is something that any of us who have appreciated Germany for years, you know they're going to do that well, the structure and organization, that they're going to do it time and time again, and eventually they're going to wear you out and they're going to win the game. That was never there today, and it was never there in this tournament.
Adrian, Monday morning quarterback stuff, I know. Leroy Sané, right?
Yeah.
It's hindsight. I get it. It might have worked for Yogi Love leaving him out because he maybe felt he wasn't going to be happy around the camp when he's not playing regular. But he made a decision. But think about the games. Think about the Sweden game and this game. Where were Germany most efficient in the second half against Sweden? Down the left-hand side when they put Timo Werner out there. And he did a great job. But he's not a winger, he's a striker. That's where Leroy Sané plays. They bring Gomez on today. What were they looking for? People to get in behind the fullback or people to get early crosses in? Yeah. Leroy Sané.
You can't rely on Kimmich all the time. He's a great player, and he's done really well in a hard team to play in. And he's bombing forwards all the time. I know defensively with the ball, but the onus was on him to get right up as a right winger almost and get crosses into the box. You can't rely on your right back to do that continually.
But then it shifts your defense all around. So he's in a bad position. It's not like your midfield is working extremely hard to get back and cover for him.
Well, the way this World Cup has been going, it is anything but predictable. On the day that Germany crashed out of the World Cup, we're here trying to predict some other results. Mariner, let's see if maybe we can throw out some wild ones and finally get some right.
Let's see if we can get any right.
Let's see if we can get any right. All right, so this group now, three-way scrap.
Yeah.
Japan, Poland already eliminated.
Yeah, Poland have been absolutely dreadful, partly because of their own play, partly because of the way teams have set up against them. I thought they would win the group. They're obviously rock bottom. They're playing for pride. Lewandowski's not been involved. Milik playing underneath, supposed to be the supplier. Nowhere to be seen. So it's not all Lewandowski's fault. No. This is going to be a difficult game for Poland. But Japan set up really well. But I'm going to give Poland a little bit of a break.
Paul Mariner.
Yes, I am.
You see, I was going to throw Poland out there too, because even though we know that we tend to underestimate the whole playing for pride thing, but as we have seen from some of the other group action matches, that's a big thing as well. But I'm still going for Japan.
All right,
they know that the stakes are high, so they have to absolutely go for it. Senegal, Colombia.
Talking about stakes that are high, obviously Colombia have got to win this game.
Yeah.
I think with the momentum of the previous game, I thought Cuadrado, I thought James Rodriguez was absolutely sensational. You got Falcao getting on the score sheet, looking very lively. Senegal have got to be disciplined. They've got to have an eye on James. If James gets his head up and he can find Cuadrado on the fast break, I see Colombia winning this game. It's not going to be easy, but I just think they've got a little bit more than Senegal and Mane. Mane with his fast break, if they can get that going. But Colombia are aware of that, so I'm going to go Colombia.
You know what, Paul Mariner? You smart man, you. I'm going with Los Cafeteros as well. All right, moving on to the next group one.
Come on.
This might be of some interest to you. It's England's group, and finally the test that we've been waiting England to have, as well as Belgium too.
Yeah.
So who's going to get the bragging rights, and who can top the group?
Well, it looks like Lukaku's going to be out for this game. He seems to have an ankle injury. Martinez has said that he's going to change his team. Whether he does is, I don't know whether that's just manager speak for trying to con Southgate. I'm a firm believer of momentum, and if the players are in good fettle, good form, play the lads. Harry Kane wants to score goals, and against his Belgian side, against all his mates from Tottenham.
So you're going for Belgium then?
Yeah. Who's this? Oh, the mighty Three Lions.
Oh, there's a George in your heart. Keep you English. Well, just for that, I love London, you know that, and I hope that you invite me back again this year, but I'm going to go for Belgium in this one, just because.
No, you're not.
Come on, Maris, we can't agree on everything. All right, finally this one, pride to play for both teams. Panama, Tunisia, you saw how much it meant for Panama to get their goal last time. Can they do another one?
Well, tongue-in-cheek, this is a battle of the defences. Not. I mean, these teams...
That's what I said, go get the goal.
These teams are so open, so porous, it's absolutely ridiculous. Panama, for me, have been very, very disappointed from CONCACAF region. I'm going to go with Tunisia. I think they've just got enough. I think they may score one more goal than Panama.
Well, just for that, I'm going to go with Panama and cheer for the CONCACAF region because, of course, that is my region.
Hey!
All right. Thank you so much to Paul Mariner. Hopefully, one of our predictions comes true this time because it's been an absolutely unpredictable World Cup, but that is why we love it and continue keeping track of it right here at ESPN FC. What a day at the World Cup today. Paul Mariner joining me. What a day in Group F action. The defending champions, Germany, have crashed out in the group stages. Now, if we look at how the table stands after what we saw today, Sweden topped the group. Mexico go through as runners-up. South Korea with a brilliant 2-0 win over the Germans, and Germany finishing dead last. Mariner, where can we even start to explain the absolute shambles campaign that they have had?
Well, first of all, wow!
Wow, indeed. You sort of expected them to find their way at some point.
Everybody watching that game, we thought that with all the pressure that was coming to bear with Germany, 74% possession, that just goes to show. Stats sometimes don't mean anything. But I must say, Lex, they were sluggish in the attack. Ozil wasn't his normal self.
Couple of pianos on their back, you were saying.
It was, yeah,
struggling
so
to build up goals.
I mean, look. The thing is, when you have 24 shots and you only get 4 or 5 on target, there's something wrong with that team. The finishing was atrocious. They're putting the ball in the box. Gomez had a header that he should have put away for fun. Hummels had an incredible chance late on to put it, but they didn't really trouble the goalkeeper. And in the end, the desperation, we'll go to VR with the goal. No doubt that it was a German foot that passed the ball for the goal. So, they go 1-0 down, and we think that's it. So it was a phenomenal day of football, absolutely phenomenal.
Now, South Korea had, when you say that, they have pride to play for, pride to play for. They still had a really
they're fighters, aren't they?
outside chance to qualify. Yeah, but we talk about pressure, and we have a little interesting stat for you if we have a look at some of the other World Cup champions that have tried to defend their titles, and you'll see where they have crashed out in the next World Cup. A lot of them have crashed out in the group stages, Paul Mariner. So pressure does speak a lot of it. Do you think that was weighing too much on Germany?
No, I don't think so, because they've been there too many times. It's just the fact that maybe this team is either getting old or it's getting a little complacent. We've spoken on ESPN FC about the central defenders. Hummels and Boateng. Boateng obviously didn't play today, but a little bit sluggish, a little bit slow. Sewell comes in today for Boateng. He's still not at Grease Lightning, is he? But when they're in possession, they had so much possession. They just didn't have the weapons to break down. You've got to get the ball wide, get it in the box. They didn't have the weapons in the finishing area and in the wide areas with pace to get at this South Korean defence, because in the build-up, Germany was so slow that South Korea had time to get the lines and get the blocks in. So it was painful to watch, actually. But as an Englishman,
you just had to throw that in there. Well, quickly before we go, where does Germany go from here? Is this the last that we're going to see of Jogi Löw right there?
Normally, yes, exactly. That's exactly what happens. They'll go back. The federation will have a good think about things. But it just seemed as though he couldn't get his team selection right. Muller seems to be, past his best. Timo Werner came in. He had great expectations of him, but he didn't do too much. Ozil was playing at his Arsenal pace. It wasn't playing at his normal international zip pace. And it took Toni Kroos to bail him out the other day in the last minute. So there's a lot of hand-wringing to go on at the federation.
Right. Thanks so much to Paul Mariner for now, but do not go anywhere, because I trust you, or I trust that this will not be the last time we are talking about Germany, and what a shocking World Cup campaign it has been for them. So make sure to tune into our show ESPN FC later on ESPN+. Paul Mariner is joining me as we look back on Group F action. That is the group that had the defending champions Germany, and best believe they are not going through. Instead, look at the standings. It is Sweden that tops the group after a great win over Mexico, who were absolutely flying high. Some nervy moments as Mexico were depending to see if Germany would pull something out of that game against South Korea, but in the end they didn't, so Mexico go through as runners-up. Maris, let's start off with Mexico, because for the first time Juan Carlos Osorio didn't didn't change his team. He went with the same team. But do you think that was a bad move this time? Because it is tough to constantly sustain that high intensity pace that Mexico have been playing at.
Only he knows that the answer to that question, because I'm a firm believer of momentum and keeping it going. If the boys are fit and they're not in any red zone from the medical team, play them, because you as a player you want to get into your rhythm, you want to keep scoring goals, you want to keep that intensity going. But I'll tell you what, they were matched today with Sweden. Everybody's harping on about Sweden, they're a big tall team. So what? They're very, very well organised. Technically they're very good. They've got difference makers, whether it's aerially or whether it's on the deck, and they create problems. Defensively very solid, and in the opposition box very dangerous.
All right, well, if we had to look at all our predictions before the World Cup started, I don't think any of us predicted that Sweden would top the table. Some possibly didn't even have them going through, except for maybe a certain Zlatan Ibrahimovic who was tweeting it all about. So now that we see this Sweden, and we have been praising them and saying they are such a disciplined, tight unit, how far could they make a run in this World Cup now?
Well, it all depends what comes out later today. We're not quite sure. I think who they meet in the next round is either Brazil or Switzerland. Difficult games. But look, the Swedish side, they're very resolute. They work so hard for each other. We harp on about the pattern, what system are they playing, and what are the lines like, the blocks. They're difficult to break down, and you know that they're going to create chances in the attacking third with the aerial threat or on the deck. So I must say, before the tournament started, I think most people had Germany, hands down going through, and then would it be Sweden or would it be Mexico? We never saw this coming. I most certainly never saw this coming, that Sweden would top the group. But I'll tell you what, hats off to Anderson, the coach. He's done a fantastic job. His enthusiasm on the training ground and his enthusiasm at the stadium on game day is there for all to see. Passionate guy.
All right, what a day. Thanks so much, Mara.
Exactly.
That's
We're not over yet.
No, we're not over yet. There's still plenty more action to come from the World Cup. Keep tracking it here at ESPN FC, and make sure to catch our show later on ESPN+.
Herculez Gomez, Sebastian Salazar from just outside Ekaterinburg Arena, where we just saw Mexico lose 3-0 to Sweden. Before we get into the fact that Mexico is still alive in this tournament, Herc, it must be said, this was by far the worst Mexican performance we have seen in Russia.
Easily. And it was self-implosion. It was the way they played that really hurt. Mexico beat themselves. Give credit to Sweden, but they played into the hands of Sweden. They tried playing a transition game with Sweden. They tried playing a game where they can combine through the middle. Sweden was very compact, very disciplined. They didn't allow much in between the lines. And when Mexico was caught giving the ball away cheaply, they paid for it.
Before this match, you said Mexico getting to 6 points and being left out of the tournament would be the most Mexican national team thing ever. I might argue, recent history suggests, backing into the knockout phase, as they did in 2006, as they did in 2010, is the most Mexican national team thing ever.
As they made the World Cup in 2014 as well. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It has to be said. Juan Carlos Osorio and this Mexican national team, when it's mattered most, when it's been Chile 7-0, when it's been Germany 4-1, when it's been a 2-1 versus Jamaica in Gold Cup, and now this performance, they have left a lot to be desired.
Who got it wrong today, Osorio or the players?
It's a shared blame, absolutely. You can't just put this
on
Osorio.
Osorio rolls out the same 11 that did the job against South Korea. How can it be him?
Oh, the tactics, just because you put out the same 11 doesn't mean the tactics are the same. They tried playing a way where they thought they can hurt Sweden by playing through the middle, by combining in through lines. That wasn't the case. Sweden held both lines, played disciplined soccer, and when they got caught in transition, they made this Mexican national team pay. And, oh, by the way, at no point did Sweden ever look like they were going to get caught. They had maybe one or two individual moments by Carlos Vela in the first half where you saw a little bit of danger. But every time Sweden had a set piece, every time Sweden was in transition, you held your breath.
Mexico will advance out of Group F as second place. Now, after the win against Germany, a lot of people were saying this Mexican team can not only dream of El Quinto Partido, the elusive fifth game, but maybe perhaps even more. Does this result, does this performance change what you think now the ceiling is for El Tri?
It does. It does. I was in that camp as well. I thought after that performance versus Germany that this was going to be different for the Mexican national team. But after what I've seen, not only from the Mexican national team, but from Germany, that's all erased. Now you're going into the next round where you're potentially going to face a Brazilian team that's getting stronger with the Neymar that's getting close to 100%. I know I told you before that if I'm a Mexican national team fan, or a Mexican national team coach or player, I want Brazil because I think they match up better. But after this performance, wow.
Agridulce, bittersweet today for Mexico. However, El Tri are through to the knockout round for a pretty impressive 7th straight World Cup.